Hello, and welcome to Emotional Health with Dr. Vani. I'm a psychologist and counselor. I'm very passionate about emotional and spiritual health. Today, I will be talking about developing boundaries and codependent relationships. We are all involved in some kind of relationship at some point in our lives with our parents, siblings, spouses, children, and friends. However, sometimes we fail to have the necessary, adequate, healthy boundaries, and this leads to broken relationships and unhealthy relationships. But in order to understand this pattern, we need to first understand what is a boundary and how do we define a boundary? How do we place a boundary within a relationship? A boundary is any line or any mark that defines a limit, a border, for example. Boundaries are a vital ingredient in overcoming, for example, codependent relationships. Codependency often has a person funneling their energy in supporting the people in their life without making space for what you need for yourself. Again, I'll repeat that. Codependency often makes somebody channel all of their energy into supporting the people in their life without making space for what they need themselves. In short, codependency is very unhealthy. In other words, when I consistently elevate the needs of someone else above my own, I may be behaving in a codependent way. Recognizing key signs of codependency in my behavior is very important. And the first step towards building a healthy boundary and honoring my own needs. That's not selfish, not at all. Even now, I'm not able to take care of myself, and I become spiritually, emotionally, and mentally weak because I have failed to put my needs in an important place, then I'm not going to be any use to anyone else. So I have to take care of myself at the same time serving the needs of others. The more I focus on providing the support I believe that other people need, the more heavily other people will lean on me. And I have actually made mistakes like that. I have provided so much support to the people that I care about to my own emotional and spiritual detriment. Over time, it becomes increasingly difficult to disentangle myself because I've invested so much. So I'm thinking, I better keep investing. So it's important to understand where I begin and they stop, or it's important to understand how much I need to invest in someone. It is perfectly Christian and godly to be a blessing and a help to people in genuine need, but not over and above my own physical and mental and spiritual well-being. If I pour into someone more than I'm pouring into myself and it's affecting my spiritual life, it's affecting my mental and emotional life, then that relationship is unhealthy for me, and it's also unhealthy for the other person. Codependency can eventually lead to a disconnect from my own needs and desires. It will promote unhealthy relationship dynamics. It will make someone lean on me so much that if there's a circumstance where I'm not around, I'm away, then they have leaned on me so much they are not able to be independent of me. Then I've become a crutch to them. That's unhealthy and potentially toxic. Codependency can also eventually affect self-worth and overall well-being. Codependent people feel that they are constantly having to rescue and fix other people in their lives. They experience emotional abuse. They have experienced emotional abuse in relationships because they are not able to form firm boundaries. So they get into a habit of always trying to fix somebody else, always trying to rescue or save someone else. Now, I have learned the hard way that, first of all, I am not the savior, and I am not able to save anyone. I am able to help people, and I am able to guide individuals to see what they can do to lead them to the right path, to becoming more emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically healthy. However, it is very dangerous if I begin to convince myself that someone needs me to the point where I sacrifice my own safety, my own health in every way. Codependents are not assertive enough to express their feelings. And this is another characteristic of codependency. And while I'm at this juncture, I want to say that this is a series we're going to be on. And we start off with what is codependency and what is the definition of codependency and boundaries. And then we move on to how to recognize it within ourselves. And then we move on to how to overcome it and how to manage it and enter into truly healthy relationships. Codependents are not, as I said, they're not assertive enough to express themselves because they are so fearful that if they put a boundary and tell the people they love, well, you cannot do that, or I will not do that for you anymore. I am not able to do that much for you anymore. I need my own space. I have my own responsibilities in life. And I'm not able to continue to do this and that for you anymore. They're afraid to say such things to the people they love because they fear rejection. They fear that the persons that they are saying this to, the person that they are putting the boundary with, will disapprove of them. And they are not able to take disapproval or rejection. So codependents need to build on their self-esteem and build on who they are in God. They must know who they are in God. Then their self-esteem and God-esteem will grow. Then they will overcome the fear of confronting, kindly and lovingly confronting people in their lives and just saying the magic word, no, I am not able to do this for you. I am not able to do this much for you. I may be able to do this much, but I cannot do this much. So they expect others. Codependents have this tendency. They expect others to read their mind and hope that things will change without them communicating that boundary. One thing important in order to overcome codependency or any kind of unhealthy relationship is to be able to communicate the boundary. We will speak about that a little later. But it's very important to be able to communicate boundaries and healthy boundaries to the people that you are in relationship with. Perfectly okay to communicate healthy boundaries to your children, to your spouse, siblings, parents, and friends, co-workers. It's perfectly all right. And not only do you communicate the boundaries, but you also let them know what the consequences will be if those boundaries are not respected or those boundaries are crossed. Codependents, however, become angry when their barrel is full and they can no longer contain the burden of carrying other people's problems. So they become anxious, they become depressed, they feel like failures. Well, they have taken on so much on their plate, they're not able to please everybody. They're not able to rescue people. They're not able to save, quote unquote, this person that they've been trying to save. And because they are not able, they feel like failures. They feel like they failed the people that they care about. And as a result, they become angry. They become angry at themselves. They become angry at those that they're trying to serve. They even become angry at God. And it is because of having very loose boundaries. Loose boundaries are boundaries that, you apply them, but then if somebody resists your boundaries, you give in and give up and say, well, all right. And you go back to the same toxic, unhealthy relationship. You need to have strong boundaries. Loose boundaries have no value. You might as well not have any boundaries. And because codependents have loose boundaries, and because they do not know where their boundaries stop and someone else's boundaries begin, they many times settle for unsafe, unhealthy relationships. Having loose boundaries means that a person has difficulty knowing where he or she ends and the other person begins. That's really what loose boundaries mean. We have an unclear sense. People who have loose boundaries have an unclear sense of who they are and may experience difficulty in defining the difference between their feelings and someone else's feelings, their problem and someone else's problems. Often, codependent people take responsibility for other people's mistakes. I've counseled individuals, parents, moms, dads, who take responsibility for the mistakes of their grown-up children, for the mistakes of their teen children. Because somehow they feel that if they take responsibility and they take the pressure off of the children, then somehow things will get better. No, you don't take responsibility off of someone. You teach them how to be responsible for their decisions, for their mistakes. That's how people grow. And often, codependent people take responsibility, as I said, for others. And it is because boundaries surrounding them seem to be so blurred. People with weak boundaries, they seem to absorb other people's feelings. Our boundaries define our individual self, also known as me. Our goal here is to identify and have respect for the line that marks off you and me. In our next segment, we will continue to talk about boundaries and the codependent person. How to overcome, how to apply it, how to have a healthier spiritual, emotional, and mental life. This is possible. It is absolutely possible. And with the help of God, His Word, you can arrive at that place of safety and security.